All right, this is a continuation of my last lesson. My men's class is going through that book, The Man of Steel and Velvet. Were you not here for that? Really? Oh. Well, thanks to Ryan, it's on YouTube, and I just went to like 2 speed and was watching it because I'm like, I need to catch up. What did I even talk about? I need to catch up on this.
This guy's hard to look at.
I start commenting on it. What an idiot! No, but that's nice because I was able to catch up and remember some of what I taught in the last lesson. But briefly, it was going through this book. I mentioned I don't think that guy is a Baptist. Is he Methodist, the Man of Steel and Velvet? Is he Presbyterian or Methodist? Mormon. All right, yeah. He's not a Baptist, but there's a lot of biblical good stuff in it. So I've kind of just been going through that. Basically, I had the first lesson. This is like a part 2 of just the intro, and then I might have 2 other lessons to go with it. So it's going to be a lot of reading. So you can stick with me. It's a lot, but if you have comments, we'll open them up. I might not get through all of it. But basically, the book was titled The Man of Steel and Velvet. He talks about 2 qualities a great man needs to have. He needs to have the steel quality. A man needs to be tough and strong. And he also needs to have the velvet, the softness. He needs to have compassion, tenderness. So he kind of gave kind of an overview of where we're at right now, kind of our society and generation, some of the problems. And but yeah, if you want YouTube, you can go and listen to that past lesson. This is kind of continuing on through it. So I'll open up in prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you so much for this time we have with the men, Lord. I pray that it'll be beneficial, God. I know it was for me, but I pray it'll just help us, Lord, to be able to apply some of this to our hearts and lives. And I just pray that you be in this time, Lord. And I pray all this in your name. Amen. All right. Again, a lot of reading. If you do have some comments, you can maybe jump in. Like I said, some of the stuff you might not agree with. Some of it is hard to hear, kind of hard he really hits on marriages, the success and the failures in it. And again, nobody here is perfect. I'm sure it might be hard for some people because he really kind of hits on perfection side of things. Like I said, no one's perfect here, but he really hits on some of this stuff pretty hard. So we'll jump into this. And if you did, last time I printed it off for you. If you do want to copy this, I can send it to you or get you a copy of it because it is a lot of good stuff. But all right, we'll jump into this. Man's basic role. A man's most important responsibility is to be the guide, protector, and provider. I talked about that before. That was kind of our theme for these classes was the priest, protector, provider. And he kind of really outlines those 3 points in this book too. But is to be the guide, protector, and provider for his wife and children. This role is not merely a result of customs or tradition, but is of divine origin. The Holy Scriptures designate man as the head of the family. The duties of both Adam and Eve were defined by God in explicit instructions. Eve was told, "Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee," in Genesis 3:10. And others in the Bible reassure this. Proof that man was commissioned to provide the living is supported by God's instructions when he said, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread," Genesis 3:19. This command was not given to the woman, but to the man. Although she was to be a helpmeet and sometimes worked in the fields with him, it was not her direct responsibility to provide the living. Man's role as the guide, protector, and provider is his first and foremost responsibility. No other duty can compare to it. No other duty replaces it. Urgent, of course, is his additional responsibility to contribute as a builder of society in assisting to solve problems and meet needs in his community. But these things are secondary to his obligation at home. His usefulness in the community is realized principally as he builds a happy home and marriage and produces well-adjusted and useful children. When a man fails in his role. A failure in the home is a man's greatest failure. If he fails in marriage, if he fails with his children, if his home is troubled or divided, or if his children are unruly, wayward, and irresponsible, he has failed in the most fundamental duty as a man. No success in life can compensate for this failure. He may accomplish great things in the world of men. He may be a man of science, industry, or government with notable achievements, but what can atone for a failure in the home? He is principally responsible for its success or failure. The home is the most basic unit of society. The strength of a country lies in the home, and the security and happiness of the families which comprise that nation. It is difficult, if not impossible, for anyone, man, woman, or child, to contribute much of value if his home is troubled. The troubled home affects a man in his work, a woman in her homemaking, and children in their personal development. The man stands as the head of the household, the shepherd of the flock. Only when he functions successfully in this calling is his house in order, and only when his house is in order can the community and thus the nation function as it should. When he succeeds. On the positive side, when a man functions effectively as the guide, protector, and provider, when his home is ruled with firmness and kindness, love and good leadership provided, with security and comforts needed, and when his children develop into happy, well-adjusted citizens, then he has made his most notable contribution to the world. Other contributions may be added, and they are important, but they are secondary to the success of his family. It has been said that a sign of man's success is when he walks up the path leading to his home, and his children run with eagerness to greet him. His wife, smiling, lovingly greets him at the door. This achievement is not often seen. I remember a guy at work, he was my age, but he was married and he had a little girl. But yeah, his wife took a video. She was just barely learned how to walk, but he got home, he was dirty. It's high vis, but yeah, they had a long driveway, and she was walking down the whole. It took forever. It was a long video, but she finally got to him and was hugging him. It was really cute. But yeah,
my girl still do that.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
To this day, I mean, when I got back from my trip, they all come running out of the house.
yeah. That's awesome. I'm excited to have kids. I'm praying that God will bless me and Cherry someday.
But then you as the man start running.
Yeah, I think I was in it. Kevin Hart pulling and seeing his kids and knew they'd want to play and stuff. And he's like, I just didn't have it in me. And I put it in reverse and left. All right. The woman's role. The woman's role is to be the wife, mother, and homemaker. Her role as the wife is indicated by the following. When God made man, he said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him. And thus she was given as a wife, a supportive companion, his encouragement, and sometimes his strength.
Make a comment there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I saw it online or read it, but it's a very interesting thing there in Genesis. It's before the fall, and God says that something is not good, and it was that man was alone.
Oh.
That's pretty, that kind of
Huh.
blew my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
before the devil, before the fall of mankind, and God says, hey, this isn't good, and he brought Ethan.
Huh. That's, I never thought about that. That's pretty cool. I think I had something I wanted to say. I remember Mom talked about, I think a pastor has said once, will you ever be happy, truly happy and have joy and peace if you're not doing what you were made to do, what God made you to do? And in our discussion, well, no, you wouldn't feel fulfillment. Then he kind of followed up, well, God made women to be a helpmeet. If she's trying to fight that or go against it, he's like, that might be a reason for a lot of discouragement or depression or, really interesting point. Continuing on, her position as mother was established when God blessed her with the function of bearing children. A woman's household duties are clearly defined in the description of a virtuous woman in Proverbs 31. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. He's just jumping to a couple parts of it. She bringeth her food from afar. She giveth meat to her household. She planteth a vineyard. She is not afraid of the snow, for her household are clothed with scarlet. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Besides her domestic role, a woman needs to give benevolent service outside the home. She has a debt to society to make the world a better place, as does man, But in her case, it is a feminine service, such as helping the poor, serving in the church or community, assisting in youth problems, etc. Giving such a service enriches her life and makes her a better wife and mother. At no time should this role supersede her duties in the home. Her first and sacred obligation is to her family, to serve them as the wife, mother, and homemaker. The complementary partnership. The ideal home, in the ideal home, the man's and woman's duties are distinctively divided. There is little overlapping except in emergencies. Not only does this follow divine command, but also logic and reason. Every group must be organized to avoid chaos. This consists of delegating duties to each member, making each accountable for his assignments. A family is a small organization and thus must also follow this pattern. The joining of these roles forms a complementary partnership. Neither man nor woman is superior. Both are indispensable and of equal importance, but as we see so plainly, there is a difference of responsibility. Longfellow compares the partnership in the following way. As unto the bow the cord is, so unto man is woman. Though she bend him, she obeys him. Though she draws him, yet she follows. Unless useless each without the other. Little poem. This partnership has also been compared to a lock and key that joined together form a perfectly functioning unit. Each has a different function, yet each is necessary. Neither is superior, one is useless without the other. Capabilities to function in roles. When God blessed man with the responsibility to guide, protect, and provide for his family, he also blessed him with the temperament and capability to function in this role. He was given the capacity to shoulder heavy responsibility, to endure the stresses and strains of the marketplace, to struggle with difficulties and make weighty decisions. Although his burdens may be heavy and discouragement may enter in, he has the capacity to do his work. God has promised it and will bless him when he seeks divine guidance. The man was not created, however, with the capacity to function as a woman. He does not have the temperament to assume the monotone and trivial tasks of the household, to tend to the children, do the wash, and cook the meals. He may do well with woman's work in an emergency and may have a deep appreciation for the service she renders, but he does not thrive on her responsibilities. I like that point. Some of you might be like, why are you saying that's just, woman's work or whatever, but that you can't deny that. He doesn't thrive on those responsibilities. Mike, you got a quick comment?
Men who really love to do dishes.
Some people do that for a living, though. The woman, on the other hand, was created with a temperament to cope with the problems and responsibilities of the feminine world. Although delicate in body build, she has great endurance in her own sphere. She can spend sleepless nights with a crying baby or caring for a sick child. She can struggle with demanding tasks, all of which seem to need doing at the same time. She is patient with trivia and endless meals, which come 3 times a day throughout the year. A feminine woman not only copes with such problems, she thrives on them. As a man is not so adaptable to feminine tasks, a woman is not so adaptable to masculine tasks. To be a carpenter, bricklayer, or auto mechanic, her feminine makeup does not suit her to build her own shelter, fix the roof, repair the furnace, or worry about finances or making weighty decisions. Her temperament is not that of an executive, a leader of industry, a scientist, or a politician. She was made to be a wife and mother. Here is where she functions best. Many women do, of course, take on masculine responsibilities, especially when their husbands fail in this respect. But when they do, they lose some of their femininity. That's something you gotta admit. Yes, there are times where women have to step up, but in every case, I believe they have to give up some of their femininity to step up and take on those masculine roles. Where did I leave off? But when they do, they lose. Okay. When a woman rises to a position of leadership in the business world, she must develop masculine capacity. Masculine capacity is contrary to femininity. It works against it. She must, in fact, reject her femininity if she is to do a man's work. It is, in fact, that men and women differ temperamentally, psychologically, physically, socially, and in capacity to do a specific job. Although they are equal in intelligence, their intelligence is not on identical subjects. They do not think alike, have the same perspectives, nor do they react the same way to a given circumstance. They worry about different things, and they worry differently. And women do not have the same capacity in a specific job. Men and women do not have the same capacity in a specific job. These unique differences are undeniable to even the casual observer. Frustrating as these differences frequently are, men and women try to understand one another. They are nevertheless an important part of the divine plan and add much to the attraction and excitement of the sexes feel one for another. Such was given the capacity to function best in a specific male or female role. The hole punches are punching in here, so every time I get to one of those, I got to figure out what the word is. All right, marriage. The security of the partnership of a man and woman lies in binding them together in marriage. Only then will each have the incentive to do his best and do his or her best and build an enduring life together. Any other arrangement, whether it be an assumption, oral agreement, or whatever, is not sufficient to endure for any period of time. It does not provide sufficient incentive to make a wholehearted effort towards a high goal and overcome the obstacles and trials which are sure to come. The underlying reason for rejecting marriage is rooted in lack of faith, which is in itself an admission of doubt of one's own self-worth or the value of the person he is considering as a partner. The deep feelings of romantic love which should exist could not endure such an insult. Defeat is therefore built in. I had taught a whole lesson on this, talked about cohabitation. Sometimes people make good points, but when you really look at it, I love how he puts this. You hear guys at work, the divorce rates are so high right now. Just live together for a while, see how it's going to be. You can kind of see what the other person's like when you're living with them. Sometimes it makes sense to them, certainly, and they're trying to make their point. But I saw that marriage is something you got to be all in. If you do that, and we did a whole lesson on it, I had statistic after statistic of marriages don't actually last longer or are better that come from cohabitation. When two decided to live together for a long time and then get married, those marriages show that they weren't as strong as others who waited and got married. But he says it really good here. That cohabitation is really basically both of you saying, I want an escape route. I'm not confident in myself, which maybe is insecurities, and I'm not confident in you. So let's both keep the door open just in case we want to leave and exit. And that's not, you're building a foundation that's going to fail. It's not a good foundation to build on, and that's why they often do. I just think he puts it really good this way. Marriage is something that it's got to be all in. And that's why that he talks about that, an agreement or an assumption, but that doesn't really work out. Marriage needs to be an all-in. The most important reason for matrimony, however, is that marriage is ordained of God. It is a sacred covenant. What God hath joined together, let no man put asunder, implies that it is part of the heavenly plan. This seems reason enough to respect the institution of marriage. In spite of the sanctity of marriage, there is a threatening trend to do away with it. Many people are afraid of marriage, hesitate to step into its binding obligations. This fear is undoubtedly due to the many marriage failures and the troubles observed in even those marriages which remain together. Although we can sympathize with these fears, it must be recognized that the solution does not lie in abandoning the institution of marriage. We must learn the principles which will allow us to be successful and happy in marriage. At the time, David V. Hawes, was chairman of the Department of Psychiatry at the Country General Hospital, Phoenix, Arizona. He said, "Marriage, imperfect as it is still the best solution we have to keep the family intact and make a man responsible for the children he has procreated.
Teon,
Yeah.
what is marriage then? If the woman and what are you asking, you said you had 5 husbands and one you have now is not your husband. What technically then would make a marriage is she was sleeping with him, but she wasn't married. What's the difference between marriage that you're talking about and
Yeah.
just living together?
Real quickly, even if you go back to Adam and Eve, there would have been God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. There would have been witnesses. I believe marriage is coming before God and before witnesses, making a commitment to each other, and then God ordains that. It's between a man and a woman. So that's what I believe marriage is. I think even with Adam and Eve, you still had the witnesses with God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, and he brought them together. They made a commitment to each other and to God.
Just shotgun, it wouldn't be.
No.
But
And that was my whole lesson I taught about cohabitation. Clearly, there was a difference between people who waited, got married, and started a life together, than people who... I heard of people, 8 years they lived together, they got married, and within a year they got a divorce. It's like, well, clearly that's not the answer, you know. But,
Peter Ruckman said if you have sex with a woman, you're married. If you stop having sex with her, then you're divorced. So he makes that, which is very similar to the Islamic.
yeah.
They were trying to get, it would be legal for a man to have a 12-year-old wife.
Yeah.
So,
Muhammad
world
did.
leading, it's pretty perverted ways.
Yeah. But all right. Continuing on. Where did I leave off? Although we can, yeah, I read that. I read all this. The most important way a man can contribute to the security and happiness of his marriage is to successfully live his masculine role. This means, in review, that he rules his household with firmness, kindness, and love, that he provide an adequate living, that he can protect his wife and children, and in every way serve as a man. As we progress in this study, we will see that a man is much more than a paycheck. That's kind of funny. I think a lot of homes are like that. The wife kind of runs everything, and the man just kind of goes off to work and makes the money. He will learn to understand women and children and how to meet their needs. He will learn how to achieve a happy marriage. Trends opposing the male and female roles. There's a worldwide trend to do away with the traditional male and female roles and achieve equality between the sexes. The goal is to eliminate any differences in responsibility so that all duties are shared equally. This includes decision-making, earning a living, housekeeping, and childcare. This rejection of traditional male and female roles asserts that such roles are no longer useful to society. He goes on talking about feminism and the start of it, who started it, some of the problems with it. But he kind of ended it with they were left unhappy. That's where I kind of pick back up. They have failed to realize that happiness and fulfillment come only as people give of themselves in service and duty to that work which is important to be done. No work anywhere is more important than caring for children and doing other domestic duties. No work is more essential to the national interests, economy, and well-being. And no work requires more love, patience, resourcefulness, raw intelligence, and managerial ability than being an efficient mother and homemaker. This work naturally falls to the women and can best be done by them. It is a sacred responsibility, and failure to perform is a serious abandonment of duty with dire consequences. Each passing year since the vicious concepts was announced, there again, these hole punches are really getting in the way. Really got to decipher. We'll jump to the next section. In large measure, the parents of our present generation are at fault. Well, he wrote this a while ago, so it's not time for you guys to worry about it. It makes their daughters are now mothers who are unprepared and perplexed. Many of their sons are irresponsible, unwed fathers. It makes just as much sense for a man to say, I'm tired of earning the living. I want to find something more exciting and less demanding. Right? Something somebody here said. All right, where did I leave off? Tired of earning a living, I want to find something more exciting and less demanding, as it is for a woman to feel she should desert her place in the home. He's saying both of those are common now to hear. In the woman's sphere, there is a record of failure. Our generation is one of divorce, troubled homes, and rebellious children. Drugs are a consequence, as is violence in the streets. This is not the problem of the government and will not be solved by the government. Women must return to their homes and serve there. They are thinking too much of what they want to do rather than what they ought to do. That's kind of bold. But I remember I was talking to a girl once. Cherry wasn't there, and we weren't married yet, but I was talking about her. And I was talking like, oh, she was going to finish up college. And I'm like, oh, when we get to the U.S., I'll probably want her to be a stay-at-home wife and such. And then she was talking, well, what about her dream? What's her dream? And she was talking, she was going to like journalism or something. And I just, I'm sitting there, I'm like, we're talking about a job, right? Like, we're talking about work. Like, it's my dream to pour concrete every day. No, that's a job. Like, I get some fulfillment out of it, seeing a project done. There's some cool stuff about it, but I'm like, talking about Cherry'd be working in a cubicle for 40 years of her life, her dream. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, we're really, you women, like, really, like, flowers, and, like, it's my career. I'm like, we gotta do this. You gotta do it to make money. You make it sound so, woo. Like, so
Everybody needs toilet paper. I don't want to carry the boats.
But no, I think you brought Cherry up here. I think she's very happy being a homemaker rather than working. She had to complete some internship towards the end of her college, and she got some job offers, but I'm sure she's happy that she didn't take them.
So.
Yeah. All right, where did I leave it? And what they ought to.
There's 3 ply.
All right. But even before I blame the women, I accuse the men who are the leaders in the homes. My displeasure focuses on them. They cannot cowardly shrink back and blame the women. But we can try. Only when men and women willingly assume responsibilities they were born to do, devoting themselves to make a success of them and losing themselves in the challenges incident to it, will they find happiness and will have a better world. We will have a better world. It is the primary duty of the man to fulfill his responsibility first and encourage his wife and daughters to be competent and happy in female duties. Harm in the women's lib. In review, we can say that equality of the sexes leads to a blurring of roles, giving no distinct male or female image. Women are encouraged to desert their post. The greatest harm comes to children as they are deprived of a mother's undivided interest. A mother who works outside of the home by choice casts doubt in the minds of her children as to her love and interest in their welfare. Besides the harm that comes to children, there is a distinct harm to both the man and the woman. With emphasis on equality, the man does not fulfill his masculine role. He is robbed of this opportunity for personal development, those experiences that develop his masculinity. The woman is harmed in a different way. As she divides her life between two worlds, she takes on masculine attitudes and abilities and loses some of her femininity. Neither the man nor the woman develop to their full potential, nor does either experience real fulfillment. How young men face the masculine role. Many young men are fearful of stepping into the responsibilities of marriage. Okay, then. All right. Being untaught and then misled, I don't know if that was right, and misled by the prevailing philosophies, it is no wonder that they are apprehensive. For this reason, it may be that the only and it may be that only the emotion of intense love will cause him to overcome his fear and take the step. Even after marriage, many men have severe adjustments to the load they have assumed. They are suddenly faced with an additional dependent, a household to run, furnishing, and the prospect of children. Before, they were relatively free. This adjustment is natural and deserves understanding. But always there is the assurance that the step of marriage and family life is a desirable one that will lead to personal development, happiness, and peace within if one is successful. Those who reject this responsibility without just cause demonstrate a weakness of character and sacrifice the opportunity to grow. Growth comes through adversity and difficulties, not through the pursuit of the easy life. I remember I had prayed that I would become a better foreman. It can be stressful at times, but I was praying like, God, whenever a new project gets started up, I'm always a little bit nervous. You get bombarded with these prints, and every print's different. None of the engineers like to stay on the same page. So they're always different, and I get nervous about going to a new job. You get new guys, and you see the schedule and everything. But so I was praying, but shortly after that, I got sent to the worst job I've ever been on. It's just a nightmare. But that job was unbelievable. Not just me, but we had a group of guys, and we just turned it around. And I believe that job made me better, a lot better. But it was because it was the worst job I had ever shown up at. And it forced me to really kind of have to rear things in. And so it was an answer to prayer, but not how I kind of expected it to be.